Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for what promises to be an extremely informative session. At NatWest, our purpose is to champion enterprise by helping to remove the barriers that too many face. We have an ambition to remove those barriers and support more diverse-led businesses to succeed. There are a few ways in which we provide support to small businesses, and one of these being our Business Builder program, which helps businesses with digital and event-based learning. Business Builder also offers a digital community from which you can grow your network and learn from your peers. We also have our Accelerator and FinTech Accelerator programs, which have been tailored to support businesses to grow and scale. They offer mentoring, coaching, and also that invaluable network of peers to connect with. Our Digital Business Hub provides content relevant for your business in the form of articles, videos, and toolkits, which provide intelligent and practical solutions to everyday business challenges. So if you have a business need and you would like to know more about how we may be able to support you, then please do feel free to get in touch. The most successful organisations know that creating diversity within their supply chains brings a great deal of benefits and opportunities. So we're really pleased to welcome you today to Diversifying Supply Chains and to be joined by the UK's leading organisations that are focused on increasing supply chain diversity. Whether it's through connecting businesses to supply chain opportunities or providing support to understand the processes of how to win business. Throughout this session, you'll hear even more about how they help diverse founders to succeed. So we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please do use the comment function on your platform to send questions in, as we'll be hosting a Q&A with all of our guests at the end of the discussion. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first guest today. Please join me in a virtual round of applause as Maggie Berry from WEConnect International joins us. Maggie, please can you tell us a bit more about WEConnect International and how you and your team support female-owned businesses?
Shania, I'd be delighted, and thank you very much to the team at NatWest for hosting today's session all about diversifying supply chains. Yes, I work for an organisation called WEConnect International. We're all about connecting women-owned businesses into the corporate supply chain. So the We of WEConnect stands for Women's Enterprise. I'm based in the UK and I run our programme across Europe. So I'm delighted to share a bit more information with you today. So if you could go to the first slide of the deck, that would be amazing. Or the next slide, please. So WEConnect is all about supplier diversity and inclusion. Now, mostly when we talk about diversity here, it's normally about workforce diversity. It is big business, hiring women, promoting them, women on board, all of that good stuff. But actually what we're looking at is diversity in the supply chain of large businesses and whether they're buying from diverse owned businesses. And for WEConnect International, we're interested in women owned businesses. So supplier diversity and inclusion, it's all about buying products and services from previously underutilized suppliers. And you're going to hear also from MSDUK today that focus on ethnic minority owned businesses in the UK. And it's a really interesting part of the diversity landscape and an incredibly important part of the landscape, because really we want to put financial power into the hands of women all around the world. And one of the ways we do this is by them selling their products and services to large corporations. The overarching topic does cover a number of different groupings, including people with disabilities and veterans and LGBTQI+ owned businesses. But we have a focus on women. You may or may not know that, but less than 1% of corporate and government spend globally goes to women-owned businesses. So we are on a mission to shift this 1% and to put more hands into the money, more hands into the into women-owned businesses around the world. If I could have the next slide, please. And then in terms of who WEConnect International is, some of you may have heard of us, you may have not, but we are actually a corporate-led not-for-profit. We were set up by a group of corporations who were interested in connecting with women-owned businesses outside of the United States. We've been around for just over 10 years. And the corporations we work with, they represent over $1 trillion of spend every year. And I am on a mission to get some of that $1 trillion into the hands of women all around the world. It's a truly global organization. I've got colleagues in lots of different countries, and we have a central database of women-owned businesses that represents over 120 countries. And we work with the corporations to help them grow and develop their inclusive sourcing programs. And we do a lot of work to support our women-owned businesses as well. If you could have the next slide, please. And this shows you the different corporations that we work with. And this is a really interesting alliance of corporations who are committed to change by purchasing from women-owned businesses. There are lots of brands on there that you will recognise and know. And what I would always say to women-owned businesses, if you're thinking about these are the kind of firms that you would like to sell products and services to, then being part of WEConnect International would be a really interesting thing for you to be able to do. I'd also say if any of you are working for large corporates and you work at any of these brands, or you'd be interested in connecting with procurement contacts brand, let us know, because we're also really keen to connect with more corporations on this journey and to facilitate opportunities for these firms to talk to each other and to share best practice, and certainly to be able to share details about brilliant women-owned businesses and other diverse-owned businesses that they could potentially work with. Have the next slide, please. Now, we have a really clear definition of what we count as a women-owned business, and this is one that is majority women-owned. So minimum 51% of the shareholding has to be in female hands. It can be one or more women, but it has to be majority female. We do also look at the day-to-day management and ultimately the control of the business to ensure that it is a genuine women-owned business. And for women-owned businesses, we have 2 registration options. You can register with us for free, which we'd absolutely recommend. You've got to give us some details, but at least you're there, and then we know who you are and we can keep an eye open for opportunities for you. And we do offer a more formal paid-for registration that we call certification. We offer this in 45 plus countries around the world, and in Europe, in the UK, in Ireland, Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. And I think when we hear from Megan Stowe at Intel, I think she'll possibly reference the interest that corporations have in knowing that the diverse-owned businesses that they work with are certified. It's a way of them knowing that the business is who they say they are. So for us, that they're women-owned and that they meet these criteria. So it's certainly an interesting additional tool in your toolkit as you're looking at ways to grow business with these multinational corporations. I could have the next slide, please. And one of the big things that we do at the organisation is how we can help our women-owned businesses to access business opportunities. So the members that we work with, quite simply, they let us know what they're buying, what tenders they're running, or if it's an RFI, or whether they might just be looking for a certain supplier. And then we connect them to women-owned businesses who could provide them with relevant products or services. So we have our own database of women-owned businesses, and then certainly I work with a network of networks across Europe. But if this is sounding interesting to you, I'd absolutely recommend getting registered. And so then we know that you're there and we can get you connected into these opportunities. And the reality is that once you're then connected into the opportunity, it is over to you to be the really brilliant suppliers that you are. We don't expect any of the corporations we work with to buy from a women-owned business simply because they're women-owned, but we do want them to open up the opportunities so you have more visibility on what's happening, on what they're buying, and where you might be able to fit into their supply chain. So this is at the core of the work that we're doing. Have the next slide, please. And these are just some examples of the types of business opportunities that have come in through the team here in Europe in the last 18 months or so. There's all sorts of different things. There's a much longer list than this. This is just an example. Now, some of the things are very difficult to find a women-owned business. Others, we have a really good representation things like translation or digital. Others are more complex. We maybe don't have representation in all the countries. But the UK is one of our largest and strongest markets in Europe. So we would love to know more and more women-owned businesses in this region that we can connect them to opportunities like this. So food for thought about the kind of things that corporations are buying. Have the next slide, please. And then as part of the conversation that we're going to have once you've heard from the different presenters, these are things that we would like you to consider and things to think about is like, what are you selling that could be right for the corporate and B2B marketplace, either for the large corporations or indeed for other small businesses in the network? And then thinking about how else you could be benefiting from being part of a supply chain inclusion program. And we're going to come on to this during the Q&A, but this is one of the things that we really want you to think about around how you could benefit, your firm could benefit from being part of these kind of programs and the collaboration opportunities that are there for you. So just something for you to consider. And then if I could have the next slide. just very quickly wanted to shine a spotlight on 3 examples of women-owned businesses that have benefited from being part of the WEConnect International network. KTS Events, it's in the name, they're an events company. One of the large tech corporations that we were working with had issued a tender for actually events companies in Ireland. We put them in touch. And actually then, as it turned out, they then covered 2 different regions in the same tender, and they ended up being able to win and provide business, not only for the tech firm in Ireland, but also in France, all through one introduction that WEConnect International made for them. It did take time. They had done formal tender process before. They were ready and they were prepared, but we were able to facilitate an introduction and connection for them against a formal RFP. So that's one of the ways that we can help. Gibbs Hybrid are actually one of our largest women-owned businesses here in Europe. And at one of the conferences that we hosted a couple of years ago, they participated in what we would call matchmaking, and they were connected to MasterCard. And they started a conversation that over, I'm going to say maybe 9 months, 12 months, then led to further conversations with MasterCard, and they have then ended up being able to support MasterCard with some of their business in Ireland as well as in the UK. One of the things is that, you know, these takes time to build relationships, but we were able to help facilitate that initial introduction for them via one of the matchmaking events. And then the final picture is Jill Thorpe from the sourcing team. And the sourcing team have been part of WEConnect International for a number of years, and at different events that they had participated at, informally they had been connected to the enterprise rent-a-car team, and through that the sourcing team provide things like promotional items and other sourcing support, and they've been able to get connected to the enterprise graduate recruitment team, and we're able to work with the enterprise graduate team in terms of their graduate program and providing them all the collateral and marketing materials that they needed. And this had come from an informal connection through the WEConnect network that over time that the sourcing team were able to develop had then led to business opportunities. So there's just 3 examples, either with KTS Events through a formal RFP, Gibbs Hybrid through a formal kind of matchmaker meeting, and then the sourcing team through informal connections at an event, that they've been able to benefit from being part of WEConnect International. And I would say, certainly as an organisation, although we're not able to host in-person events at the moment, we are providing similar opportunities, but virtually at the moment. Very exciting. If I could have the next slide, please. We've got lots of activity in Q4. Please check out some of the events that are upcoming. If the slides are shared afterwards, you'll be able to access the calendar, the link that's at the bottom of these slides. But there are events coming up all around the world with WEConnect International, and as they're digital, you will be able to access them. We've got a webinar happening tomorrow about human capital. Our Canada conference is on the 22nd and the 23rd of October, which you can join virtually. There's lots of great content there. And then if we look ahead to next May, we actually will be planning our International Europe conference. We're still going to be virtual in May. So again, wherever you're sitting in the UK or broader across Europe, you'll be able to access that. If we can have the next slide. I want to close on our women-owned logo. So if this has piqued your interest and you're a women-owned business or you're interested in buying from a women-owned business, follow #BuyWomenOwned. This trademark that's on the screen now, women-owned, is eligible for use by businesses that are certified with either WEConnect International globally or an equivalent organisation in the United States. And as it says, it's all about bringing consumer recognition to products made by women. So even just following this hashtag will enable you to connect to more and more women-owned businesses. So keep an eye open for that. And then if I can have the final slide from me. If you want to know more, there are my contact details. You're very welcome to get in touch. You can follow us on social media. And if this is, you think this is something I'd like to be part of, you can absolutely get registered. It's quite a long link on the page, but when you go to the website, you can easily see where you can get registered and you can complete your details with us. So Shania, I'm gonna close there, and I will look forward to participating in the Q&A. So if people want to find out more, they can ask those questions. Then please get thinking about the things that we said to have, be thinking about. And yeah, very happy to answer more questions towards the end of the session.
Sorry, I do this all the time with my mic. the life of living in the COVID era. But no, thank you so much, Maggie. We've already had a couple of questions that have come through, so we'll get to those in the Q&A section. So now I would like to bring in our next guest, if you can all again join me in a virtual welcome to Mayank Shah from MSDUK.
Thanks,
Thank you so
thanks,
much.
Shah.
Yeah, thank you so much
Thanks.
for joining us. So can you please
Yeah,
tell us
sorry.
a bit? No, that's okay. Please tell us just a bit more about MSDUK and how you support ethnic minority-led businesses.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me over here. It's a great conversation that we are having because, what COVID-19 has shown us is the growing inequality in the society, both social economic inequality, and what supplier diversity does is address this issue heads on by having leading corporations like NatWest and Intel that we have over here today to commit to opening up their supply chain and engaging with underrepresented businesses, either they are women-owned, like Maggie said, or ethnic minority-owned businesses. And we at MSDUK focus, like WEConnect, we focus on supporting and helping ethnic minority-owned businesses in the UK to connect with global corporations. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our focus is on supporting ethnic minority-owned businesses. I founded this organization back in 2006, and it was incubated from my PhD that I did on this area of supplier diversity. And one of the key sort of focus that we are having over the last 4 years is also supporting startup communities from our ethnic minority communities. We work and go around universities all across UK to identify young startups from ethnic minority background who have got innovative ideas to bring them into this community so that we can help them in their journey from a startup to scale up. At the same time, we work with some of the most amazing high growth ethnic minority businesses from all across UK, helping them connect with corporate supply chains. Next slide, please. As WeConnect does, we work with a range of corporate partners, corporate members, some of the biggest FTSE 100 and Fortune 500 companies. What helps us in this is that it's a very diverse range of industry that are represented, which opens up so many different supply chain opportunities for businesses. And over the last 16 years, our connections and introductions have resulted in more than 800 million worth of spend with ethnic minority businesses. Last year, the spend was around 45 million that was spent with ethnic minority businesses by our corporate network. Next slide, please. One of the perception when we talk about ethnic minority business that is there is that they are in certain industry, very limited industries. But what we have seen over our work over the last 16 years is that ethnic minority businesses are in so many diverse industry. 30% of our more than 2,000 businesses that we have in our network are more than 5 million turnover. We have some of the largest minority businesses that are turning over 200 million, employing more than 400, 500 people. That's the sort of size of scale of businesses that we have. And I'm sure that today, in your audience, we have got so many ethnic minority businesses, especially who are, part of the NatWest accelerator that are looking for scaling up. And I think this is the perfect place for you to be part of MSDUK. We are here to support you and connect you with not only global supply chains, but when you be a part of our network, what happens is, and I'm sure Megan is going to talk about that from Intel, is that you are not only connecting with these corporations, you're connecting with their downstream supply chain, their tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. So there is an opportunity for everyone in that supply chain. As a business, you need to understand where you fit in, and we are here to help you. But also what MSDUK is doing over the last few years is investing in your development. So we work with some of the leading universities across the country, from not only here, but international universities from America to deliver some high growth residential programs, but also a range of events where we bring investors We bring academics, we bring lawyers to provide you support on IP, on investing in, how to access investment. Access to finance is one of the biggest issues when it comes to minority-owned businesses. And we have a panel of investors, both VCs and angel investors, that are helping and investing in some of the startups that we bring. We run an annual innovation challenge, which is a competition where we attract some of the most innovative ideas around advanced digital technology, health and well-being, etc. And they get scholarships to go to America. They get corporate mentorship. In fact, we are having this year's semifinal tomorrow, where 20 of the best ideas are coming and pitching in front of investors and industry. So there is something for everyone over here, and I would encourage everyone who is in this audience to consider joining MSDUK. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, what are the benefits? And I think what we offer and what WEConnect offer, this is really something where both our organizations are committed to helping you scale up, helping you be part of mainstream. And as part of MSDUK, if you join MSDUK, we also have a certification program like WEConnect, where we are certifying ethnic minority businesses. Good news is that although our annual membership, which includes certification, is £300 a year, because of COVID-19, we are offering this free for 1 year. And if you are a minority business, you can join MSDUK till end of March next year, and you get a 1 year free membership, which allows you to get access to opportunities. We recommend you on any contracts that are upcoming. And there's a whole range of facilities and support that we provide. And so at the moment, the membership is totally free. Next slide, please. Some of our big events that are coming up, we recently had last week, we had a Meet the Bar event. We are also running a number of corporate training sessions. But the big day is 9th of December. We are having our Innovation Challenge finals and also a virtual trade show where you can exhibit your business, can exhibit over there, and we'll have more than 500 buyers coming in from all over the world to meet you at the virtual booth and have one-to-one conversations. So join us and be part of this some exciting events that we are putting together. And I think finally I have my contact details over here in the next slide. Feel free to visit our website, and there's a link to the free membership. But also I have put together my team's contact details, so you can feel free to contact any one of us, and we are here to help you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayank. That was really interesting. So we will move on now to our next guest, who is Meg Stowe from Intel. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Meg. So it's been very interesting to hear from both Mayank and Maggie about how their organisations work to highlight the opportunities that there are for their members and for small businesses, and we can really see how this benefits smaller and medium-sized organisations. But can you tell us why, from a larger corporate member of these two organisations, what activity you deliver and why you see value in being a member and to supporting to diversify the supply chain from your organisation's perspective?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to come in and join your panel. So first of all, Intel has had a supplier diversity program for many, many years in the US, where a lot of supplier diversity actually started. And we've been in the international space for probably 10 years. And I always judge that because I came back from maternity leave of my second child. And that's how I remember how many years we've been doing it. But we started in India and the UK and South Africa. And now we are in 24 countries around the world. So really great program, which is phenomenal. It's in our DNA, and Intel is very passionate about it. They believe in walking the talk and actually doing and following through. And this was actually shown. We set out in 2015 to spend $1 billion around the world with diverse suppliers. At the time, we were at 140 million, which I'm quite embarrassed about now, but at the time it was that amount. And we achieved to spend 1.1 billion at the end of last year, so a year early, which was phenomenal. And it just shows the passion and that we actually are following through in what we believe is the right thing to do for business. We've now set part of our 2030 goals. We're going to hit $2 billion. So who knows, maybe I'll be here in 10 years time still talking about how we've hit that. We look at both tier 1 and tier 2. So when I talk about tier 2, we ask our normal suppliers, not diverse suppliers, sorry, our tier 1, big tier 1 suppliers to go down and push supplier diversity down their supply chain. So really, they need to come back to us and report on what their spends are. So at least 10% of the money Intel pays our suppliers, we expect that to go to diverse suppliers. Those diverse suppliers should be certified. Both Mayank and Maggie mentioned certification. For corporations, that's really huge because we've got to have proof, if we ever audited on those numbers, that they are truly women-owned or ethnic minority-owned or LGBTQ-owned. So we really use those NGOs to help us make sure that they meet the requirements. The other thing that we use them for is, diverse suppliers, and you guys will know this, have got some amazing, innovative ideas, and they're often agile, much more agile than the big corporations out there. And they look at things in a new way. So we use their databases when we have an RFP or an RFI to go out and look for those suppliers. Obviously, once you come into the RFP, it's up to you to win the business and up to them to win the business. But at least you're getting your foot in the door, right? And it may not happen the first time, as Maggie spoke to, KTS is actually one of our suppliers. And it took her a number of years to actually get there. So don't give up, just persevere. Other things that we do with both Mayank and with Maggie's organizations is we do corporate events with them. So we'll have Meet the Buyers, so you'll get to meet my team. So as you can see, I'm the EMEA Strategic Sourcing Director as well as International Supplier Diversity Director. So they'll come in and meet the team, the buyers, so that they get to get known. We also do workshops. So we've done a number of workshops on cybersecurity, on how to respond to an RFP, what the corporates look for, and also how to negotiate. And then other things that we do with them is we look at get our tier 2, our tier 1 suppliers to attend some of those conferences so they can learn from other corporates on how to implement their supply diversity programs. So those are the sort of things that we look at doing with them. Without WEConnect International and MSDUK, I think we would struggle to find the businesses. So without them, we wouldn't have a program. So that's how we use them.
Thank you so much, Meg. That's really useful and great to hear, and also really inspiring for the businesses who may want to think, actually, why would a large corporation want to hear from me? So before we move on to our final guest, thank you so much for all your comments and questions. We will be coming on to our Q&A very soon, so please do, if you have any burning questions, get them in the comment section now. But now I would like to welcome Dr. Marilyn Comrie, who's going to talk more about how she and her organisation supports diversifying supply chains, but in the public sector as opposed to with large corporations. So can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yes, certainly. And thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. What I'd like to talk to you about is about public sector procurement. I have 3 businesses that I'm a director of, but actually what I found is that public sector procurement is a way that as a small business, we can secure contracts ranging from 10,000 to 150,000. So the process is much simpler and quicker, I find, than actually going down the corporate route. But actually, I think that what I want to talk to you about today is how COVID-19 and the pandemic and also the Black Lives Matters movement, it has led to a complete reset, and that actually we're finding that there's a greater emphasis on social value procurement, and I'll go and talk about what that is later. But as a result of large corporations wanting to win government contracts, there is a greater emphasis for them to subcontract with Black and Asian minority owned businesses, as well as female owned businesses, that will ensure that businesses like ours will actually be able to scale up and grow much faster over the next few years. So I'm a director of the Black United Representation Network, which was set up during this pandemic and in response to racial inequalities in Greater Manchester and the fact that nothing was being done about it. But the focus was very much on economic empowerment of communities of African descent, because the solutions to some of the challenges we face are only going to be solved through economic channels. And I'm also a member of the BAME Social Value Task Force, which the government has set up. And again, that's very much about how can we change public procurement practices in order to make them more inclusive. We heard earlier from Maggie talking about 1% of corporate procurement spend is spent with female-owned businesses. I dread to think what that number is in terms of ethnic minorities. It will probably be 0.0005%. So I think that we're about to see a very exciting period where everything is being turned on its head. And I think that in Greater Manchester, certainly, we're looking to trailblaze in this area. Next slide, please. So I'm really talking about how you can begin to subcontract with corporations who want to win big government contracts, whether those contracts are worth 2 billion. But a key requirement of that is that they must subcontract with SMEs in the local area that they are delivering services in. So that does present a great opportunity for ethnic minority and female-owned businesses as well. But part of the challenge is capacity building these organisations so that they can take on large contracts, and that might be worth $1 million. So this is all part of the government's SME action plan, which was announced in 2019. And the government's goal is that 1 in every 3 pounds spent through public sector procurement, they want to see it spent with small firms, because they understand that small local firms are big employers of local people. And if you want to tackle disadvantage and inequalities, you've got to channel more of the money into SMEs. But as a small business, I am able to go to a government website called Contract Finder and actually find contract opportunities that I can tender for in my own right as a small business, which is worth between 50 to 300,000 pounds. Next slide, please. So, being a Mancunian, and in Manchester, we love to do things differently. We're the birthplace of the first industrial revolution, got the best football teams in the world, and now we've decided we're going to really take on inclusive growth and show the rest of the country how you do it. So in Greater Manchester, the Local Enterprise Partnership and the Greater Manchester Combined Authority have given a commitment that as part of their Build Back Better programme, and that's what they're calling it in terms of the COVID recovery plan, the emphasis is going to be around tackling inequalities and levelling up the kind of like opportunities for disadvantaged communities to begin enjoying the economic growth and prosperity that this city has been creating over the past decade. Manchester is a booming city if anybody's ever been here, but actually the wealth is being concentrated in the hands of 1% of people. Local Mancunians are being left out of this, and there's a recognition now that really this needs to change. In terms of Greater Manchester and the public procurement, just in terms of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority alone, and also the NHS, Greater Manchester is a devolved authority, so it means we manage our health budget. We're now about to manage our skills training budget, and together that is worth £8 billion. So £8 billion. And what the government is calling for is that 10% of that should be ring-fenced to spend with local SMEs. So that's equivalent to £800 million that at local SMEs who were excluded from these opportunities in the past can now access. But that's why capacity building of them is going to be key going forward. Next slide, please. So I founded the Black United Representation Network, as I mentioned earlier, to tackle inequalities. And those inequalities are around leadership. There are no Black people in leadership positions in a decision-making role within the whole of Greater Manchester, a conurbation of 2.7 million people, where 25% of the population are Black and Asian. And in Manchester City Council region itself, it's 45%, but not one person of colour is in a senior decision-making position in the whole of Greater Manchester. This needs to change if we're really going to deliver diversity. But the main area is that we're calling for 1% of the Greater Manchester's public procurement budget to be spent with Black-owned businesses, and we've been given funding to deliver a programme called Restore, Strengthen and Scale Up. McKinsey did a study not so long ago which showed that gender diverse businesses, companies that are more gender diverse are 15% more likely to outperform their peers. When it comes to ethnicity, that rises to 35%. So that is a business case for diversity, that it actually makes really good business sense. And the other area is around intra-Commonwealth trade with Africa. And again, that's about saying our ethnic minorities are a great way of winning business post-Brexit. So post-Brexit, the UK is going to need to turn to Commonwealth countries again in order to do business and do trade. So I'm hopeful that this will kind of like change the perceptions around ethnic minorities from being disadvantaged to actually being the secret weapon that the UK has to win more international trade and ensure that we remain fifth in the world league table. Next slide, please. And lastly, I just really wanted to share with you some resources that I hope you will find very helpful indeed. As I say, there's Contract Finder, which is a government website, which will, you can have a look at all the contracts and they're usually between 50 to 300k that the government is looking to procure with small businesses, SMEs. There's another really useful website called ProContract that we're registered on. And again, that's about public sector tendering, and you can go on there and find tendering opportunities all around the UK that you can then bid for these contracts as a small business. In Greater Manchester, we have a specific tendering portal, which is part of ProContract. But again, in terms of the chest, they have spend between 6 billion each year, and this is for the whole of the Northwest. 6 billion that they want to spend with small businesses. So the opportunities are vast in terms of what public sector procurement is offering. And lastly, we're working with an organisation called Star Procurement, who actually capacity build small businesses and to get them contract and tender ready. So they have a useful toolkit, resources, contacts and connections to get you started on your journey. So I hope that's been really useful to everybody, and I'm really looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. That was so informative, and you made so many great points. And I just really hope that there are people on from other cities so that we can follow the way of Manchester, where Manchester's leading. And also, just so you know, there are quite a few Mancunians on saying they'd love to hear more. So that's great as well. So now I'd like to welcome back our other panelists, Maggie, Mayank, and Meg. I'm going to kick off with a question, but then my colleague Heather will be coming in to lead the Q&A. So thank you again so much to all of you. So first of all, I'd just like you to tell us a bit more, Maggie, Mayank and Marilyn, what do you feel that corporations can do to help smaller firms like your members be more successful at winning supply chain opportunities? And from the other side, Meg, can you tell us a bit more about what large organisations may need more support with so that they can start taking more advantage of diversifying their supply chains? Don't all rush at once. Whoever wants to go first.
Maybe I'll start from a WEConnect perspective then. I mean, I think one of the big things is the visibility and the opportunities. So Marilyn's just very clearly explained in the public sector, there is a lot of visibility on these websites. And so you can go and look and see what's there and what you can access. It doesn't necessarily work quite the same way in the private sector, where they're not publicising these opportunities. And one of the big things that both WEConnect and MSDUK do is that we do have the visibility, and we are then able to reach out to our networks of diverse owned business and say, right, we need suppliers to do X. We've got this opportunity here. We need this. We're looking for a supplier that can do this. And I think that is, that sharing that visibility is one of the big things that the corporations can do, so that more and more diverse owned businesses know what the opportunities are. Because actually we hear anecdotally from many of the women-owned businesses we work with, and Mayank, I imagine it's possibly the same within the MSDUK network, they simply, they don't know what's out there because it's not public on a website. So that's a big part of it, that really practical step around quite simply just sharing what they need and what they're buying.
I think you're right, Maggie, and I think the fundamental difference between public sector procurement setup and private sector like Intel is public sector procurement teams are almost based locally, and they focus on local procurement. When you're talking to Intel, they have hundreds of procurement people sitting all around the world. And how do you, first of all, educate them about the value diversity brings? So because then only they will be able to share more opportunities, because everyone is buying something every day, But how do we, as Maggie said, how do we access those opportunities? And that's the reason why private sector struggles with that, is because how supply chains are set up in those organizations. And the more education, more awareness about diversity and value it brings to supply chain will encourage more and more sourcing people. Someone is sitting, you may have a buyer who is buying IT products at Intel sitting in Singapore or sitting in India. How do they know the value of diversity in the UK? So that's the issue that we all have, and this is an issue that every corporate member is trying to invest in, to educate in training internally. The more we do it, the more opportunities we'll have coming through that sourcing teams. I think that's one thing that everyone, I think within MSDUK and WEConnect, we keep reinforcing this, and our corporate members are trying to do more and more. And we are seeing the impact of that by getting more opportunities. But I think that's exactly the way we can support our businesses to make sure that we get more access to opportunities.
Yeah. And I would just like to reinforce what Mayank said. I mean, we've just recently won £4 million from central government for a concept that we came up with, and we managed to get some corporate partners to back us here. But as a result of it, we've been approached by a major global corporate firm based in Silicon Valley who've now agreed to partner with us. But it was as a result of the public sector procurement that they found us. And we've also got a motorsport business that, again, wants to demonstrate their diversity credentials, and they've come and found us. So actually, the public sector side has been really important for us to actually raise our visibility. So now the corporates are looking to partner with us. And I think that's the way forward. I would like to see more corporates really demonstrate their corporate social responsibility by partnering with small businesses in areas that they're operating in, and demonstrating how they're helping those businesses to grow, adopt the governance practices that are needed to run a well-run business. And then that's a win-win for everybody.
Thank you. And Meg, what from the corporate side, where do you think further support could or may be needed?
First of all, I want to say, I think you guys have hit the nail on the head. You know, we need to be better at getting everybody awareness of what is out there. Something we're doing is every single RFP that goes out has to have a diverse supplier as part of it. And if there isn't one, we go to a Maggie or a Mayank or someone and say, are there any? And if there aren't any, fair enough. I'm not going to find a diverse someone in silicon, probably, for the amount of silicon we need to make chips, right? But there are many other opportunities. So thank you, and I agree. Where we would love your help is finding those women, ethnic minority businesses, because just as they don't know what we've got, we don't know that they're there unless they register with you, right? So we use those databases to find those diverse suppliers. So definitely come and register with the likes of MSDUK or WEConnect International, because otherwise we don't know you there. So, okay, that's what I would say.
Thanks. So then that's another reason for people to join as members as well, because then they can get those opportunities. So I'm now going to welcome my colleague Heather Waters, who's going to facilitate the Q&A for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Shania. I've had lots and lots of comments, really positive. So thank you all for joining us today. One of the first questions that came through was actually, Maggie, when you were speaking, and Sue was asking if the sessions are available offline. Now, we've answered it from a NatWest point of view that this recording is available offline afterwards, but actually it may have been the sessions you run at WEConnect. So are they available offline, Maggie?
Yes, indeed. And a lot of what we any of the virtual sessions are normally recorded and then available on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find them. You'll be able to find them from there. So a lot of stuff is recorded and made available, and it's just finding time to sit back and listen to everything and really take on board all the great information that's shared.
Brilliant. Okay. And another question came up. So you talked about there's two levels of membership and the cost of registering. So I know one is free of charge. Can you just give a little bit more information about, if you to be a certified member, the costs involved?
For WEConnect International, yes. Yeah. There is a sliding scale. So businesses that are a little bit smaller pay a bit less, and businesses that are a bit bigger pay a bit more. And currently the fees range between about £250 and maximum £550 a year.
Brilliant. Thank you. And just on that, Mayank, is your the events that you're doing virtual, were they all also recorded, available offline as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we run a regular series of webinars where we are bringing investors, legal support, but also a corporate training program. All those are recorded and are available on our website or on our YouTube channel. And we recently hosted a massive virtual innovation summit, which was attended by over 800 people. And we had nearly 40 world-class speakers and investors who ran. We had someone from Intel talking about smart cities. So there were some really inspiring talks during that day. Everything is available offline on the platform. So yes, people can go and have a look at that.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, I'm really interested in actually, and my job is about supporting businesses. So it's great, as you've said, you create the opportunity for people to get sight of what's available for them to go into on tendering. And I think go back to Marilyn's point and what Meg just touched on, it's the business support. What support is needed, because of all the businesses that are out there, if a large percent, I think it's 96% of micro businesses that are SME in the SME world, actually, and they're really small. How do they get that opportunity to work with the large corporates? So you've talked about the tier 1, tier 2, and Meg's touched on that. But what is it we need to be delivering? And this very much feeds into Marilyn's world as well. What is it we need to be doing to enhance those opportunities, to make sure people are actually going through the process the right way? What support is actually needed? And this may be something that comes a follow-on event from today, but if I take it one by one, I'll start with you, Maggie, because you started the first speaker. What is it we need to be doing more of?
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously two stakeholder groups in this: the work that we need to do with corporations, and then the work that we need to do with the diverse-owned businesses. So there's already kind of two streams of activity there. If we look at for the diverse-owned businesses themselves, I would say anecdotally, if I look at my data in Europe for the women-owned businesses that are registered with us, they're pretty much all SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises. Now, many of them have experience of working with large corporations like the example I shared, like KTS Events and Gibbs Hybrid and the sourcing team. Others haven't. So again, within that, there's then a split of the support that's needed for businesses that have already done this kind of work and then competed in procurement processes and those that haven't. So it kind of splits down into different levels of training. There isn't really a one size fits all, because the businesses are all very diverse in what they do and the business sectors they're in, but also in terms of their own level of experience. But for me, it's one of the big things is simply making them aware of what that looks like. If you want to work, Meg, I'm going to say, if I want to work with Intel, what are the expectations? What do I need to think about? What is Intel expecting of me? And what will that process look like, and being able to share more information so that more and more suppliers are equipped. The other piece I would say is, if you decide to participate in a procurement process, you can't guarantee that you would win the first time you do something. So there is also a level of investment in, I'm going to do this, I might not win, but I'm going to learn a lot, and then the next time I'm hopefully going to do better. And I think there's some evidence that businesses maybe kind of go in the first time and then aren't successful and don't ever try again, but you have to go back and try again. This is a learning process, and it's also a pretty competitive marketplace.
So on that, feeding on from there then, and Meg can respond to this, what is the biggest thing that goes wrong? What is it that businesses don't get right when they're going through this process, and that's why they don't? I know price, obviously, as you just said, it's a competitive market, but is there one thing that tends to be missing that's the reason why they don't win the opportunity?
No, because cost isn't everything, right? It's the quality that you bring. And something that we often find, and when I get cold calls, someone will go, oh, we heard about Intel. We want to do business with you because we understand that you are a recruiter. Now, we make silicon chips. We don't recruit. So know your supply, who you're going in to tender with, right? Because if you don't know what you can bring to the business, you're not going to win the tender. So I think the key thing they need to remember is know the corporation and what they need and how you can solve that problem for them. That's one of the biggest problems I see.
Thank you, Megan. Mayank, your thoughts on what additional business support we need to be providing to get more successful at tendering?
I think one of the things that I say to minority businesses that are part of our network is, first of all, don't consider us just as a dating agency, where we are going to do the matchmaking. I think we are here to make every one of our businesses successful. That's very, very important. That's our mission, to make every ethnic minority business successful. But for an entrepreneur, that success can come from so many different ways, not just by doing business with Intel. And I think if people come into our network, whether it's WEConnect, whether it's MSDUK, they have to come with that mindset. First of all, that they are here for the long haul. We are here as a strategic partner for the long time, for the entire journey. Secondly, you are a women-owned business or minority-owned business. You come and meet someone from Intel today. they might not have an opportunity now. So what is more important is relationship building. You need to build up that relationship. You need to come and meet Meg with a solution, not about what I sell. You need to research, as Meg said, research about Intel, research about what are the challenges they are facing, and come with a solution. Because if you come with a solution, the buyer would be more interested in talking to you. That's very important. And then wait for the right opportunity, and sometimes, we all move around in our career. Today, someone at Intel may be in 2 years' time somewhere else. So if you have that relationship, they will remember you and they will come up with an opportunity. So my advice to minority businesses and women-owned businesses who are part of this network is that it's very, very useful network for you to connect with so many diverse mindset and people from all across the world. And you need to invest your time, think carefully about where you fit in your supply chain, come out with solutions, but also be ready to build up long-term relationships, because definitely that's going to be the key to success in your business.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Marilyn, being a fellow Mancunian, it was very interesting to hear about what's going on in Greater Manchester. And I will say, like the BBC now, other cities are available. I guess the transparency of the opportunity is there with public sector, as you've explained, and very much you've kind of focused on the support that needed to take the business on that journey. And I guess that's very interesting to me because, again, that's part of what we look to try and find out what's needed rather than deliver, because that's what we think's there. Is the support being provided then locally, or is it having to come from the private sector to deliver the support that's needed to help the businesses to get the opportunities?
Well, I actually think the key is not to do it on your own. Don't tender on your own. Go and partner with somebody who's really good at tendering. As I say, there's the opportunity to either form a consortium with other small businesses who want to bid for large contracts. But I found that a way of accelerating the process, like we recently joined the Department for Work and Pensions Dynamic Purchasing System Framework. I think if we tried to fill out the forms ourselves, we would never have done it because it's quite complicated. We managed to source somebody who does it as part of their day job. They guided us through it, helped us put up our offer on there. And so now we're on it and we're receiving opportunities to deliver. Alternatively, I know in Greater Manchester, the authority there is going to facilitate social enterprises to form consortiums. They'll give them contracts, legal agreements and frameworks to guide the consortium and the partnership. But I think there's a role for banks to bring together complementary businesses, and they must be complementary businesses. It's not about bringing together competing businesses, but bringing together complementary businesses who, like there's a big £42 million working skills contract coming up with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. Clients of yours who work in that space. It's about bringing them together because nobody can do everything, but actually coming together as a consortium, I think that you can put together a very attractive bid.
That's really interesting. And I guess that again goes back to what you've Mayank and Maggie have talked about already, but obviously it's the wider supply chain coming together, working together as well. We are actually out of time and I still got questions left. So I will pick up with you individually. I will share, we will get back to somebody who's booked through the Eventbrite and share all your contact details so they can pick up the various different organisations. A lot of people have mentioned that they want to pick up with the individuals who have spoken today. Thank you very much from Shah and myself and NatWest for taking the time to join us today. And thank you to those who have kind of dialed in on the various different platforms to watch. It is available after this on YouTube, on the LinkedIn and on the NatWest Business Facebook page as well. So the recording is there so people can share it afterwards if they want to do so. I will pick up with the various different organisations here to look at actually what do we do next, what's the next steps. And Marilyn's already just mentioned some there that, there's an opportunity there. And certainly from NatWest, we will be talking to Intel and actually taking, how you are measuring your success. And 10% actually you're looking at delivering as a target when you're saying it's actually less than 1% for most of the diverse organisations. And there's a challenge there for us to actually reach that 10%, isn't there? So from me, thank you very much, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.